evening, good morning, depending on which part of the world you're from. So my name is John Lim. Very happy to meet everyone for this webinar on Cyber Talks, Building Cyber-Aware Workforces, AI-Driven Security Awareness Training. Right, this is just some details about me. I'm doing consulting and training in the area of AI-driven security awareness training. Been with cyber teams for quite a while, and I am very happy to be able to deliver. And in today's context, digital, innovative, and data-driven programs, so that leverages on advanced technology for adults. And I hope definitely to empower organizations to be able to strengthen their cyber awareness and cyber security protocols, so that there will be significant improvements in staff security awareness and behavior. So thank you for your attention. Now, we have to understand one thing when we're talking about cyber security, because we can have the best monitoring system, the best SIEM in the world, but actually people are really the greatest assets, because people are really the greatest risk factor. 95% of successful cyber attacks really involve people, human error. Social engineering bypasses technical controls by targeting human psychology. The insider threat account for 34% of data breaches. That is verified by Verizon in the Verizon DBIR case in 2023. And sometimes we jokingly talk about the layer 8 problem of the OSI, of the OSI model. And we talk about really the importance of thinking out of the box, because sometimes we realize that in today's world, in today's digitalized world, the traditional IT-focused security does still contain some organizational gaps. For example, if we were to talk about a real case study, let's talk about Target 2013. It talks about the NIST, 800-61 incident handling context, where Target was actually the victim of a data breach. And it began in November 2013. A breach was discovered, and then it was publicly disclosed since November 2013, and it was disclosed in December 2013. So we see that, it was started as a phishing email that was sent to an employee, which was one of the suppliers, Fazio Mechanical, a third-party HVAC vendor for Target. And this vendor employee just simply did one thing. They clicked a malicious link, and because of that one button, one click, it compromised their entire cyber security framework, their IT network. The attackers, the cyber criminals, used the credentials that were borrowed through this click, and they used it to access Target's entire vendor portal. And the attackers moved literally within Target's entire network, eventually accessing the systems handling the payment and the credit card data. Malware was subsequently installed on the point of sale of the system. It captured all the credit card information of approximately 40 million customers. And this breach was finally detected not by Target's internal team, but by external parties, which was the banks and the police, before Target's own team fully realized the scope of the damage. And this was a huge issue because it started with a human error, a click where they should not have clicked. So if we consider all the security networks, we talk about the 8 layers of the open system interconnection model. It technically has 7. Layer 1, physical cables, data link MACs, layer 2, layer 3, network, layer 4, transport, layer 5, session management, layer 6, presentation, layer 7, application, and of course, if we consider the 8th layer, it is the human. And that's why the title of this talk is really talking about how do we keep our cyber aware workforce strong through education beyond simply systems and IT monitoring, because the real danger can sometimes be something that is not a completely technical one. But this is actually still an EC Council talk, and we still want to talk about technical aspects, because if we want to really be protected even when there are cyber attacks on the organization, then there is a need for policy, there is a need for protocol, there is a need where the organization is able to address important fundamental do's and don'ts when it comes to what you can and you cannot do as an employee of an organization. And that is very important. That is very important. Security, it's not only the CEO, it is not only the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, who has to take charge. Security is everyone's responsibility. In the issue of the previous very, very terrible situation for Target, the finance team, how were the data how was the data kept? Was it kept in clear text, or was it kept in encrypted format? HR, managing employee information, do we take the time to encrypt? How do we take care of expired information? Operations staff, are you able to really continually monitor who enters and who goes out of the building? Executive leadership, you make decisions that has perhaps significant risk that might affect the IT health, the cybersecurity health of your entire organization. A simple example is how do you decrease or increase the regularity of your cybersecurity testing, internal auditing of your company? Because every single decision, howbeit financial, will have organizational ramifications. Every employee, customer service representatives handle very sensitive customer data. Now we are talking about, if it's in the financial realm, we're talking about high profile wealth management staff. Are we talking about very significant profiles of customers? Every employee is a potential attack vector or security sensor. Let's consider the Anthem breach in 2015. When we talk about the Anthem breach in 2015, we understand that the attackers used HR credentials to access how many records? 78 million. The attackers actually, in February 2015, the attackers used stolen on the dark web, stolen HR credentials for the Anthem system to access the Anthem's database. and this exposed 78 million records. The breach started with a phishing email to an HR staff member, and when the HR staff member did not realize that he was clicking or she was clicking on a malware link, it was too late. And once inside, the attackers moved laterally, undetected for months. They were inside the system. The attackers attacked non-IT staff. Non-IT, the cyber criminals, they are not discriminating people. They are happy to attack IT and non-IT staff. That is the sad story. Incident handling is vital. How do we handle when something goes wrong? What is the protocol that we need to observe? Detection often starts with non-IT staff reporting something funny is happening to my computer. What is the reaction of your IT staff if they have not been trained? One particular training that we're talking today is the ECCU training by EC Council, where there is set policy, set regulations, there's set protocol to managing every single incident that happens in the organization. So that is something very important. Communication involves legal, so containment requires business unit cooperation. The communication of such breaches, such attacks involve legal, PR, management teams. The recovery phase of such data attacks depends on the coordinated efforts across all the departments of an organization. Let's consider the Myers-Notpaya response in 2017. In 2017, June 27, there was a ransomware, the Notpaya ransomware, that actually literally just attacked and crippled the giant of shipping, Maersk global operation. Over 4,000 employees across all departments had to come together to restore the entire system. Maersk Maersk had a lot of resources, IT resources, cybersecurity resources, but even Maersk took around 10 days to recover from this attack. What is the lesson that we can learn from such an attack? Incident handling requires an organization-wide participation, cross-departmental coordination. Everything is critical if we are going to solve a problem. Sadly, many a times in organizations I see today, when something happens, we are looking for the person to blame. But there are many sources of attack vectors through phishing campaigns, phishing emails, social engineering attacks. That could be even literally physical security breaches, removable media threats, web-based attacks, impersonation attacks, and they are attacking targets who are staff, targets who can be exploited psychologically, employee, using USB device users or internet users connected with the organization. Because of time, I'm not able to talk about every case, but let's go on. So we realize that in the past, in the traditional methodology, we talk about compliance, we talk about rules, regulations. It was more of a checkbox mentality, where everyone was afraid of being the black sheep of the company, and everyone felt that this is just an IT problem. But if we are going to face today's digitalized world, today's artificial intelligence world, then we need to consider that there needs to be a culture transformation, where it's no longer a checkbox. It will be a genuine cybersecurity mindset, a mindset which is going to undergo continuous learning, proactive reporting, where security has a value not just as a protection, but security has a value by herself to be a reputational trademark of the organization. And security obviously is a shared responsibility. Consider Microsoft. Between 2016 to 2018, Microsoft actually shifted from just doing an annual auditing, annual compliance training, to undergo continuous culture-driven security education. So it was a shift from a event-based auditing to a culture, a new mindset. And because of this new mindset, the security incidents literally dropped by 50%. The lesson learned was this: culture change drives measurable risk reduction. So today, when we are talking about cybersecurity methodology, we are not only talking about the systems, we are talking about how do we create the right mindset for organizations. We need practical scenario-based learning approaches. Textbook approaches were good in their day, but today we need role-specific training for the need-to-know access, hands-on simulations, regular phishing simulations. I remember when I was with a financial institution, we are constantly having very cheap iPhone emails appearing in our inbox, with them explaining that this is a special employee benefit. Please press the button there so that you can get this very, very affordable iPhone for less than $200. But being, thankfully, part of the cybersecurity team, we never pressed the button, but we reported it as a phishing attack. Thankfully, it was correct, because iPhone would never drop their prices that low. Alright? So, unfortunately. So, I would like to propose to everyone at this point, we need to have essential security skills training for every single person. There is no respecting of the seniority or the lack of seniority of a person, because email security, identifying phishing emails, suspicious attachments, safe practices, a better way of managing our passwords, physical security, how are we storing, how are we keeping discarded motherboards, how are we keep throwing away our discarded laptops, incident reporting, how do we report suspicious activities. All these are handled by the EC Council courses. Data handling, the methodology for classification of data, the severity of certain data breach, storage, transmission, disposal, all these are very real. Between 2020 to 2020 to 2022, Deloitte set into place a training program which achieved 99% completion rate for all their staff for cybersecurity, and this was because they tweaked every single training so that it was meaningful for their staff in the different departments. The HR staff had training meant for HR. The operations staff had training meant for operation events. And this was very, very vital, because it became a meaningful testing, it became a meaningful learning for them. So, we need tailored approaches for different business units. Look at the finance team, wire fraud prevention, obviously, invoice verification, these are important for them. HR, employee data privacy, background checks. Sales marketing, customer data protection, operations, vendor security, supply chain. How much more in today's world, which is aligned more and more to sustainability values, supply chains, physical access. Executives, they are suffering the whale attacks. They're suffering the targeted attacks. Customer service, social engineering awareness, how to respond to certain emergencies calls. So based on a real case study back in 2016, we realized that CEO fraud targeting finance at that time for the FACC organization led to 50 million euros of loss. Department specific risk training is vital. We need to develop internal security advocates. We need to identify enthusiastic employees who don't mind being the part of the chain, the positive chain that's able to communicate to the rest of the company what is the importance, of becoming someone who is excited about data security. Cisco, they did a champions program back between 2018 to 2024, and they managed to raise up more than 1,000 cybersecurity champions in 40 countries in the organization, and this led to a 40% reduction of incidents. And that is amazing considering the size of Cisco. So everyone has a part in incident management, where everyone needs to know that we all can be first responders when we see something is funny. And then we can all react positively when there's a business continuity plan to maintain operations even during the incidents, and we can learn to correct in a positive manner to internal and external stakeholders even during the incidents, and we are able to provide clear preserving evidences documentation. We're able to make clear decisions to have the best decision making to minimize the business impact, and we are able to move into a recovery phase where we are able to test the system and then recover the business process. Equifax was breached in 2017. Now it was quite a sad incident because poor coordination delayed their response, and it literally made the breach even worse. This happened in September 2017, where the people did not have clear roles. They did not understand the need of excellent and clear incident handling. And I believe that this ECIH certification will allow every cyber team in the organization to be the first ones to know, and from the cyber team, the entire organization will be able to benefit from cybersecurity training, which can be assured by the team. So as we go along, I would like to just propose to you that there are very clear metrics that can matter for security awareness. We can have phishing simulation click rates. We can see that there are security incident reduction trends. We can see there are training completion rates, employee confidence levels. We can see that there could be reduction of the time of detection, and there could be cultural indicators where there could be a voluntary willingness to participate in essential cybersecurity responses. Consider Barclays Bank back in 2018 and 2020. Now, the phishing click rate in Barclays dropped from 20% during that time, 2018, to 1.2% because they chose to improve the cybersecurity awareness of their members, of their staff. And this was a very clear and very driven measured program to drive improvement within Barclays. So I see that in today's world, when we are facing AI, we realize that so many things can be mimicked by AI, but we need to know one thing. The challenge is not just AI. AI can do deepfake. AI can create very, very realistic fake cyber threats. But the major challenge today for each one of us is this. It is, you shall not be a not my job mentality. We should demonstrate a personal involvement. Training fatigue perhaps, but then if it is a targeted training, it will be less tiring. What about this? Technical complexity, but we can always show very complex lessons in very simple English. Time constraints, yes, but we can integrate it into the workday. Leadership support, perhaps incentives. Resource limitations, perhaps we could leverage free resources. Look at Toyota. Back in 2019 and 2021, they integrated security considerations into a continuous improvement culture. We call it today the lean approach. And they embedded security in the daily work, so that it was not just something that was a one-time thing, but it was a daily thing. So we can all consider that we can be part of this enablement of cybersecurity awareness in today's context through technology. No, the Game of Threats, a gamified security training software, was able to just make things improved. Between 2018 and 2020, the gamified training increased engagement for major corporations. It improved by 300%. And this was a great way of allowing AI chatbots, allowing technology to boost participation and learning. So I believe firmly that we all have a part to play. There could be various types of compliance needs, PDPA, data protection, industry-specific regulations, incident notification requirements, audit requirements, internal, external, documentation standards, continuous improvement mandates. Consider British Airways. They were fined 20 million pounds. That was terrible, for inadequate staff training contributing to a data breach. Compliance failures have real financial consequences. They were fined because they did not see the importance until it happened. So in today's world, we collaborate towards success. Regular communications within the organization, joint training sessions, shared responsibility, and having that sense of accountability, having feedbacks, cross-functional incident response exercises, business unit representation. Look at JP Morgan. Between 2022 to 2024, they actually had embedded security liaisons in their business units, and this was served to improve their threat detection by a whopping 60%, embedding security within their business units. The training, the sensitivity, that created an improvement of 60%. Evolving. Today, we see that so many things are evolving, and why not evolve in our cyber security. IBM, between 2021 to 2024, they evolved as they did adaptive programs to stay relevant and effective to train their workers. They had monthly content updates based on the cyber threat intelligence. And in major banks today, the cyber threat intelligence team is birthed, and that leads to more of a proactive approach to cybersecurity protection. So as I end today's talk, I would like to once again cite there are real-world examples of effective programs. Procter & Gamble reduction of 80%, Marriott International, great testimonials of how employees detected and reported breach. Bank of America, prevention of 2 million wire fraud. Maersk, after the entire incident, they had success in their damage control. Google, 0 successful phishing attacks on employees. That is a major accomplishment. And outright achievement, average 5-to-1 return on cybersecurity awareness investment across 5 Fortune 500 companies. So if I could propose to you, there could be a 90-day action plan where stakeholders buy in, you design a cybersecurity program, you get training for your relevant IT teams, you roll it out within the 90 days, and you're able to collect the feedback from your organization and your staff, and that is a significant milestone for each and every one of our organization. So cybersecurity awareness for our workforce, it's an imperative. It's not just for the IT team. Effective program is important. The ECCU principles emphasize how the human factors in the incident response success is major, and there is continuous learning and adaptation that's necessary. We can start small by initial training, but we can identify that within our organizations there are people who are actively interested to become advocates of cybersecurity response awareness. Well, I would say that the gap, as I have mentioned during my presentation today, is many a times we like to dissect the problem and we would like to limit the impact of the problem to one department and to one team of people, because this is a very traditional mindset. And so I would say that in many organizations, be it a mega organization or a slightly smaller one, a lot of time the gap is in the perception that this is the IT problem. This is a problem that has to be managed by only one department of the company. And that is the significant gap that I see in major organizations around the world. So when I mentioned the case study of IBM, when I mentioned the case study of Cisco, you realize that it took the entire organization a positive approach in order for the entire organization to show significant improvement against cybersecurity breach. Well, if we are talking about the human factor again, I'm right now based in Asia, and we have seen so many deep fake fraud cases right now. The most significant one recently was in a very important bank in Malaysia, and the staff literally thought that it was the CEO who was giving her a video call so that she was to take millions of the bank's funds and start to send them to various accounts that the CEO, quote unquote, desired to partner with. And that is the complete consequence of AI, because AI had the potential to recreate the face, the visage. AI had the potential to recreate entire voices, cloning the voices. And so this is something that major financial institutions today are trying to cope with, and today they are setting in very robust best practices, so that when there is a call of funds during a very particular timing where there's only very few staff involved, I think they are setting in very safe, very good protection policies that refuse to allow such transactions from taking place. So AI is a very challenging situation, where be it for the financial sector, be it for MNCs, major corporations, because of how well it is able to recreate almost like the person, the images of the person. I would say that I do wonder if there is a go-to methodology for cyber attacks. I would go for a very conservative response. If an organization is unaware and untrained in cybersecurity protocol, I think the most easiest and swiftest attack would be social engineering, by the means of the phishing emails, by the means of fraudulent phone calls, impersonation phone calls. These are the most simplest, and the level of technicality and the level of investment as a cyber criminal would be the lowest, and the time spent would not be very long. But if we want to go by the technology route, then it will be sniffing all the endpoints remotely off the cybersecurity framework, and by using all the known penetration tools to sniff out all the network vulnerabilities. But usually for major corporations, many of these endpoints are sufficiently protected. So the easiest and the most lucrative method will be to attack the human factor. Yeah. How does AI determine? I'm going to talk about an automation management tool. It could be a Salesforce. It could be one of the data tools that your company is using. Basically, all these all these data storage tools to run your company employee data is already at your place, at your fingertips, and all you need to do is to perform random auditing of employees by sending internal phishing emails throughout your organization. And when you do that, you are actually allowing the artificial intelligence that functions through your data management tool of your organization to actually systematically measure the types of demographics of your staff, and through that a very systematic checking and auditing pattern, you will be able to see certain trends or certain behavioral vulnerabilities among the workforce within the company. And that could be a very simple way of gauging where is the vulnerability of your workforce. I hope that sufficiently can cover the question asked. I'm Okay, I'm going to have a disclaimer. I have a slight preference for Fortinet because I feel that Fortinet actually takes the trouble to really update tremendously all their training modules so that everything stays updated and according to industrial requirements and needs. But that being said, Cisco, Palo Alto, they all have very powerful protection measures on their own. But personally, I would go with Fortinet, because if you consider the entire framework of the Fortinet firewall protection system, they have completely redesigned their entire system and framework, and so that they want to stay up to date with the latest recent methodology for the industry protection as a firewall provider. Okay, I will say this. I believe that there are consultants, there are many companies that if we would like, especially the systems, the protection systems company, even Cisco, if you were to engage them on a professional level, they will come and they will do simulation gamified testings for your company. But if you feel that might be too much of in terms of complexity, I would say that in fact, in today's context, we are able to just a simple phishing email with a link that is able to pick up clicks by your staff is actually sufficient just to see the potential and the click rates of employees within your organization. So there might not be need for a very sophisticated tool. It is more of just seeing what are the departments and where are the people maybe who need to have reinforced training in terms of security awareness. That does not really require very designated tools, but unfortunately I believe that if you require something that is perfection in action as a tool, you will have to go through professional providers for that. The entire origin of AI, be it the transformer model or today we call ChatGPT, and all the subsequent models that's being created, all these came from the open source data of Google. So we are aware of that. So today, and provided so much liaison devices and facility to actually create and to design software together. So if you're thinking of creating from open source your own software and your own data monitoring software, I think it's not entirely impossible. It would take a lot of expertise, but if you have the appetite for it, then definitely that's possible. I see many things being birthed today to facilitate that. I think there's Microsoft Studio, there's Zapier. All these are able to create APIs. All these are able to create agentic AI chatbots, and all these can help significantly to create models. But when it comes to really protection mechanisms, I would counsel that we should go back to the mainstream providers, simply because of the stability and simply because of the credibility of such protection. What form of threats do I see in over reliance of AI tools? I think that there might come to a place where there could be the simple danger of complacency, that because AI tools do hallucinate, AI tools do make judgment errors because of the lack of ability to measure context. And so I would say that if we are not supervising our usage of AI tools, that itself will create a cybersecurity risk, because we do not know what are the data that's actually given over to the server, to the external server, to the internet, that should actually be considered confidential data. And whatever that we are generating through our AI models, I believe we are all going to create our own models if it is for an organizational purpose. I know of banks that create their own proprietary models so that the data stays within the bank. So, to attempt to answer this last question, I would say that there has to be diligence in checking 4i checks, 6i checks, and rechecking everything that's generated by AI, so that we can prevent complacency from coming in, because that by itself is a security threat. I want to thank ECCU Council for this opportunity just to share about really the importance of cybersecurity protocol, training, and awareness, especially at a organizational level, faced with this age of artificial intelligence. I believe that artificial intelligence needs to be supervised, needs to be reinforced by human supervision. And so when we talk about human supervision, we are talking about supervision by trained people. And that leads us to the training that's being offered at this platform. So thank you for your time and thank you for your patience.